Hello, and welcome to the Industry Week Book Club. I'm Laura Poutre, Senior Editor at Industry Week, and I'm here today with Paul Ericksen, Industry Week Supply Chain Advisor, and he's also the author of the new book, Better Business, Breaking Down the Walls of the Purchasing Silo. In the book, Paul talks about how purchasing, unlike other departments, lacks strategic change and what to do about it, and how building supplier relationships rather than gunning for the lowest piece price is everything. Paul, welcome to the Industry Week Book Club.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Laura.
Glad to have you here. So you have worked at, you've had a long career at a couple of OEMs. What made you decide to write this book, and why now?
Well, personal experience. I had a project when I was a large project that people probably would have heard about if I mentioned it. That taught me a lot about the supply management function, and it varied significantly from what was being practiced at the time and now. And the project I worked on yielded significant financial benefit to my company significantly above and beyond whatever piece price reduction yielded. And it's my thesis, and I pretty strongly believe this and experience this, that corporate executives don't understand the positive financial impact that supply management can have on their operations. And because of that, they delegate it as a tactical function that only works on negotiating lower piece prices from their suppliers. Why am I doing it now? I'm getting old. I need to tell my story, but also we're in a period of turmoil in supply chain right now, and people are reaching for fixes. And from my seat in the ballpark, fixes they're looking at are incremental, short term. Let's just get it going again, pretty much the same old way, but with a few tweaks. And my position is that we need
I'm sorry, we've lost Laura. We're still having some technical difficulties here. And when we lose Laura, we lose Paul because of some audio difficulties we're still having. So let's get, here's Laura back. So we can restart here. Laura, sorry we lost you for a second. I'm going to pop off and let you guys speak again.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what you mean by strategic and tactical? Like what you're looking at there?
Yeah, strategic suppliers and component suppliers. And for instance, I talk about Henry Ford in 1919, where 80% of what he bought was commodities, and they pretty much fabricated everything they needed in-house. So when you're buying a commodity, yeah, you work tactically. You negotiate, you pound on the table, and you try to get the lower prices. Unfortunately, today, that's what most OEMs still do. And 2/3 to 3/4 of what they buy are engineered products. They're not commodities anymore. So pounding on the table and negotiating isn't effective in getting all the value and results that you can get by working with your suppliers in a different way. That's the way that I propose.
How do you get started? If you're going to change your approach, how can someone, a leader in purchasing, get started with this?
The idea is first to identify who are your strategic suppliers and who are not. And strategic suppliers are those that would be costly, take significant human resources, or increase significantly your order fulfillment risk if you were to change from them. So it's sort of like being married. You've got to work out issues so that you can have a positive relationship for both sides of the equation. And if you do that, and if you collaborate with the suppliers, you can make the size of the profitability pie larger so that both sides benefit from that larger pie without either side having to cut their margins.
Are you seeing, supply chain issues have been in the news for the past 2 years, like just in the general news, not just, manufacturing news. It's big news, and I'm wondering, have things changed? Do you see companies starting to change their outlook on their relationships with their suppliers because of this? No.
And I'll tell you what I see. I see firefighting to address in the short term the issues that have come up as a result of their previous strategies on selecting suppliers. I see a lot of companies talking about it, but I don't see, I don't see a lot of OEMs talking about it. I don't see them really changing their practice. They're reshoring. That's great, but they're still pounding on the table and negotiating with those suppliers that they select now in North America. And sure, let's reshore. Let's bring our purchases back to this country, but then let's figure out what's the best way to work with those strategic suppliers when they are in this country.
I think you write a lot about this. You've written about this in your column a few times, the column you've been writing for years for us. With the purchasing officer, the chief purchasing officer, is there problems structurally in leadership at companies around, the authority that they give their purchasing department?
Sure, I was a chief procurement officer at one company, and I got to sit in on the OEM staff meetings, and I basically was asked to contribute. And at those staff meetings at the end of planning for the next year, the CFO, chief financial officer, would look at me and say, "Here's your cost reduction goal for next year." And then I was to take that goal and go and execute it. I didn't have any input in the actual financial planning of the company. And I was just given a task and said, go and execute it. That's tactical. Mm-hmm. So I don't believe truly that most chief procurement officers really have a seat at the table when it comes to defining corporate strategy. And I live that, and I've talked to other chief procurement officers that also live that today, and it needs to change.
Do you see any companies that are doing it right?
Well, I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't noticed it, and I haven't heard. Here's the thing. I get a lot of feedback from my colleagues. I really do. People look up my email and send me personal emails. They don't necessarily under the column. And this is interesting. Most of them are from suppliers, and they're saying, yes, you're exactly right. This needs to change. This is how my customers operating with me. I get hardly anything from OEMs that say, yeah, we need to look at something like this. So that tells me that there's really no change happening in corporate America that's sustainable, that they're changing their strategies and how to select suppliers, who work with suppliers, and that they're changing their process. And I talk about this extensively in my book.
What kind of response have you been getting from you just mentioned that you are hearing from people, and the book's been out for a little while now. What kind of response have you been getting?
Let's just take one subject, extended payment terms. Haven't heard anything. Haven't heard a word from an OEM on that. I have literally over 100 emails from suppliers to OEMs that say they're using me as a bank. It costs me more. It takes away from my profit margin. And in the end, I raise my prices, so they're really not getting a benefit out of this. And I don't really think that OEMs understand that. And that's the type of feedback I'm getting. If there was collaboration, on the other hand, the suppliers could tell the OEMs, yeah, you're getting a short-term cash flow benefit, but over time, I raise your prices to regain my margins.
Right. Well, is there anything else you want to add about the book, or talk or say anything to your readers? Like, I know you've got a lot of people out there commenting on your column.
I would just say, keep your minds open. Talk to your customers. Make sure they understand that if you have extra value, you can add. That understand that extra value. I outline, my book is set up in two parts. First of all, I say the background and the case studies, and then the second part is a how-to. So that's what I would say.
Well, thanks so much, Paul. It's great talking with you, and I love reading your column every month. It's one of the most responded to columns that we have. It's just got lots of good information in there, expertise. So I really appreciate you coming on here. And the book is Building or Better Business, Breaking Down the